Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Must Play, a Fair Wagers golf podcast where we evaluate the country's most talked about golf courses to determine if they're truly a must play. I'm Shawn Massey.
I'm T.J. Van Gunten.
And today we're discussing Auction Southern Dunes Golf Club, a beautiful course in Maricopa, AZ, just 30 minutes south of Phoenix. And our guest this week is Jamie Martel, a fellow AZ golf fanatic right here in the Valley. Jamie, good to have you on the pod.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Appreciate it.
Yep. What, you got like 2 bags behind you there? How many clubs you got back there?
I got 4 bags, 2 out of sight. Yeah, I got some G4 bags, and then you guys know the brand Kith,
Yeah,
like a clothing brand. So they did the collab with TaylorMade, and I got the bag that they put together.
Oh, nice.
You know,
yeah, which was actually it was a present for me. So that was nice.
One, super cool.
Yeah,
very much cool. 2, I was not expecting a yes from Shawn when you said, "Do you know the brand Kith?" Like, it's very much not in Shawn's wheelhouse or realm. So, Shawn,
I know it because it sounds like someone saying "kiss" with a lisp. I picture someone with $2 saying, "Now Kith."
It's like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson from
That's
Yeah. I got a bunch of like my older clubs and stuff, and then the new stuff. I just picked up the new Ping PLD.
Oh, nice.
ES72. So that's new.
Okay, so accurate calling you a golf fanatic at the top here.
Yeah. I spend plenty of my money on stuff.
So I know you've lived in AZ for a little bit, but you're originally from New York, right?
Yeah, well, I was born in Northeast. I was born up in Maine, and then I went to New York after college, worked the whole career and stuff. So I was there for 12 years before moving here. In 2021, I moved here.
Okay, So grew up playing golf in the Northeast compared to desert golf out here. Kind of what are the main differences other than the obvious?
If we're talking New York, pace of play and access, we're talking tee times 4 minutes apart. Largest I've ever seen. We had, this isn't an exaggeration, guys, because it sounds ridiculous, 8 foursomes on the second hole. People just started leaving by like the second and third hole because there's no marshals. They don't do anything. Everything around the city is really packed. Mm-hmm. Very expensive, as you can imagine, to be anywhere private. You drive out to Long Island and it's still packed, but you get a little bit better. But tee times rounds are 5.5 hours minimum. That's like standard. But, some decent courses. But out in the desert, I mean, target golf, a lot different. But the manicured courses, like you can't compete. There's not a blade of grass out of shape around here, and it's gorgeous, but it's a lot more difficult because if you're a higher handicap, you're not going to be able to go find your ball in the woods, and just punch it out or hopefully have a window. Yeah.
So maybe that's a good segue to Southern Dunes because it's known for wider fairways, and even if you're off the hole, the desert out there is not your traditional cactus-laden desert like you would play up North Scottsdale. So I know you kind of are a fan of Southern Dunes, but why was that something that interested you to talk about today? What do you want people to know about the course?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love dunes. So when I first came out here, I was shocked and I was traveling a couple of years just to come out here and golf because, you just got the bug. But everything was target golf. And it's so different here that when I got to dunes, I felt like, I found a good mix that isn't just target golf, kind of like you said, up North Scottsdale, like Troon and Pinnacle and those ones, like great courses, but very like still Troon, but a different beast. And when I got there, I also compared if you ever played the Raven. Mm-hmm. There's trees at the Raven. It's a little bit more foresty, if you will, even though it's right in the middle. But Dunes had that, and they got the big fairways. They got the bunkers, and it just felt a little bit more like an accessible golf course for me coming from the Northeast, but still had all the desert stuff that you want and appreciate.
Yeah. Speaking of Raven, have you seen that clip of Bubba Watson with a hovercraft on the course?
I have not.
I'm going to put that on because I'm not making this up. It's so random, but he did this like weird promo with the hovercraft, and you can tell it's Raven on the course. He like hovers over, goes straight over the lake to go to get to his ball, basically to hit his second shot.
Yeah.
It's
really the hole, the one with the Raven in the background, like on 18.
Yeah, it's got Raven. I think he's on, I forget what hole, but he's on the back 9.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting. Oh,
yeah,
I gotta see this. I usually don't miss Bubba. I love Bubba, fellow lefty. You
yeah.
know,
I
that's
know.
another thing. I'm a lefty,
Oh yeah,
so
TJ, we didn't tell you you're outnumbered on this podcast.
Oh, we can rewind back to when I said that Blake was a lefty and he wasn't a lefty, and I was
Yeah,
severely wrong in that aspect. But now today, here we
yeah,
are, outnumbered.
that's
yep.
another
Still right though.
that's another thing about dunes. So like, I always have a whenever I play a new course, and obviously I've played dunes 25 plus times at this point. I was looking up all the times that I played it on my gin.
Hmm.
Um, it is suitable to both righty and left. It doesn't favor, and I always kind of look at that when I play a golf course. It's like, are you getting a ton of dogleg rights? You know, am I going to be? Is this going to be a constant battle for me to try to make my cut work all day? And it's not, and it's got a fresh mix of everything.
Yeah,
Par threes are monsters, like
tough
monsters.
par threes is in my
Yeah,
list, man. Some of
yeah.
those
And I'm
greens.
sure we'll get into that a little bit more, but like
Yeah,
probably the first time I went there, I was like, wow, okay. Like, no wonder they have qualifiers here for the US Open. You
yeah.
know, it's really nice. And I actually got the chance. I'm just going to side this. Um, I went out and played the other morning, like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And right, they were having a tournament. I forget the name of the tournament, but some kid played with me. His name was Ryan Gunlin. He was an Oregon Duck. He played with Wyndham Clark on the championship team
Okay.
when they won in college. This kid was dialed. I mean, the first day in the tournament he shot 8 under, and
Whoa.
Casual.
so kind of speaking to like, I'm like a 9.2, right? And I shot my personal best at Southern Dunes when I first moved out here, and I was probably like a 14. I shot an 80, so it's gettable, you know, for kind of the higher handicap. But I've also shot like a 98. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
this guy goes out there and he shoots 8 under. Second day he shot even. So it's very much like a course that has teeth, but has big fairways, which I believe it was 2014, they renovated the fairways and made them a little bit wider when they turned it from public to private. So
Listen to
it's like,
you. You got the history down over here.
oh, dude, when I find a course that I like I'm like
Yeah.
complete nerd, and it's
I
like,
told TJ, I was like, heads up, he's a golf nut. Like
yeah, dude,
he knows.
I'm gonna be like, I was talking with this kid that I was playing with, and I'm like, this is where you want to land this one on the screen. Like, trust me. Like, so we got a couple holes in, and this is a real golfer, mind you. Like, I have no business telling this kid anything, right? But he was like, yeah, he was like, this is the right spot. Like, you don't see that from over here, and you don't see this because he was prepping for the tournament.
Right.
And it just was like, it was nice to see it through his eyes too, because it makes you realize a lot of different things about the course that, you know, I would only be able to see with the type of golfer that I am. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's a fun thing to see this course through other people's eyes. And I'm having a big buddies trip for my 40th, and we're playing 3 places. And Dunes is on that with TPC. You know what I
Oh,
mean? So like, it's up there for
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was with TJ for his first time, but I want to hear from you, TJ, what you thought about it for the first time when we played with Alex and Chris.
When'd you play it?
Yeah. Gosh, Sean, when was that?
It was in the spring.
Late February, beginning of March,
Nice.
right?
Mhm.
Prime Arizona weather
Yeah.
to go out and play. It was, it was incredible out. But yeah, it is, like you said, it's not too punishing for a high handicapper like myself. I do think it's funny that you mentioned you don't see the same shots that somebody else sees. Sean and I had touched upon this during the Greyhawk podcast, where Sean said that he and I played essentially 2 different golf courses that day. And I think at Dunes, you get a little bit of that too, but because it's a little bit wider and it's a little less target golf, you're going to run into less of that. But you do take that huge jump when you go and talk to someone who is scratch or a +8 or even better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but first impressions, phenomenal service. Like it's like you pull up the cart, the bag drop off is great. They're very upfront with, they know that not a lot of people always come out there. So for a lot of people, it's their first time coming out there. So they're very welcoming. They're very like, here's where you need to go. Here's what you need to do. And as a guy who likes to practice a ton, we'll touch on it later, but the practice facilities
Money.
for choice are very nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, not enough great things to say about it from like a showing up aspect. We'll touch on some more of the pros and cons, but definitely the drive-in. I love a good drive-in too. While the actual drive-in from like Phoenix to Maricopa is scenic. It's the desert. A nice like tree lined path once you get on the property is very nice, and then just a good parking lot, a good welcoming experience.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. So I had some buddies that came out last year, and they were playing, and that's like the number one thing. He goes, "Oh man, that drive-in, those trees." He goes, and it sets your mood. You know what I mean? It calms, and you're like there. The drive's done. You're there, and it puts you in that mindset. And like you said, I've never been where. You know when sometimes you go up and the starter is like, he hates his life. He's like, what's your tea time? What's your name?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These guys are not like that. They genuinely are like, hey man, we're really happy you're out here. Like they're very genuine. And it's like, you can feel it, you can see it. It's real. Yeah.
Troon does a good job of that. I feel like they know how to hire, and they have a good management layer where essentially, you're going to get a experience out there. But I agree with Southern Dunes in particular. The starters there, especially in the winter when they got the fire going by the first team, that little fire pit thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's such a cool scene. You're like, this wouldn't be a bad job if I lived in Maricopa. Like if I retired, I could see myself pulling this move. But speaking of the drive though, if you drive past this course on the way to San Diego, like you're taking the whatever that highway is, 347 to Gila Bend, you go by it and you're like, that should not exist. It's just barren desert, and then all of a sudden like oasis, and then more barren desert. And
it used to be like the agricultural grounds before they transitioned it, because obviously it's on reservation, and that's another thing too, is like the water conservation that they use. But like any courses that are south, when they're on, they don't have the water restrictions that a lot of like North Phoenix and Phoenix face. So you get nicer courses. The greens, there's never burnout spot. There's literally no burnout anywhere on this course ever. You know, it's like really nice. Let me ask you this, TJ. When you went and played and you got up and like you got into your round, how were you feeling in the middle of your round? Was it like, did you feel like it was a bigger beast than you thought, or were you like, hey, I'm managing this, this is fun?
Man, it's so tough for me because so much of my day, Jamie and I have never played together. This is actually our first time meeting for any of the listeners at home. So Jamie doesn't know that either my driver can be phenomenal off the tee and it's the biggest asset to my game, or it is the biggest detriment to my game. It is generally what determines for a lot of high handicappers, right? It sets the tone for most of your day.
There's no dimmer switch on TJ's driver. It's a flip on and off.
Listen, I'm coming out of a 3-year drought of my driver, and it just started coming together this spring. And it's like, I feel you. I got 700 drivers in these bags trying to band-aid the problem. I got the mini burner. You know what I mean? Like the mini burner. It's like, oh, let's get shorter and more accurate. That's cute. No.
Yeah. Hey, folks, just remember at home, buying a new club will always fix your swing issues.
Always.
But I would say, so when we were doing this, we were also filming an episode of our Fair Wager style YouTube content where our buddy Alex was playing against some bets. And so all of us were kind of just playing our own ball alongside all of that. And I think all of us were taking passes at filming, or Shawn was filming most of it, but then Shawn started to play well and was
I heated up. I was one under. I was one under through 7 holes, and I was like, hey, I got to stop filming because this could be something, and blew up on the very next hole.
Blew up on the next hole where as soon as you said something to me about like, hey, I'm playing well, I might need you to take over filming. It was once somebody said something about the no hitter to the pitcher, but. I would say the driver was not going great that day, but the rest of the game was going well. And everything out there is so nice and manicured that like you can go find a ball in a desert and actually like punch out reasonably like you would in the woods in New York or playing up in Portland. Like definitely, I'll say this right now before we even get into anything else, pack a desert club for this course. Pack an old 7-iron. That you feel comfortable either hitting knockdown with, or you feel comfortable taking a full like 150-yard swing with, because you'll definitely end up using it, and you don't want to screw up another club. But and then I think we ended. Honestly, it was the last round of the weekend, so I think we just played 4-man scramble on the back 9, also because of some pace of play issues.
And the vibes are so much better.
The vibes are so much better. closing out like a boys trip with just like a nice 9. Everyone's just vibing. The drinks are flowing a little bit. Like no one's mad at each other or bickering. We're all just hitting some good shots and high-fiving. Like that's the best.
Jamie, one of my favorite stories is at Bandon. When we go, I am the instigator, the guy who books too much golf. The one that's like, no, we're going to play like, all 5 courses, or we're going to play 36, 36, 18. And so this last time we went last year, infamously, I always do this. And Jones, one of our foursome, he starts getting like blasted in the eyes from all the pollen that was popping at Bandon Dunes. Like he could barely see. And this is our last day, and we're walking, and it's just like he wasn't going to make the last tee time, and it was packed dunes, which is arguably the hardest course out there. And so we knew this was going to come, and we booked a 4-man scramble for the entire round. And I swear to God, like it instantly reversed everybody's mood for the rest of that, stay. Like you just feel the weight off your shoulders of not having to like keep score on where am I at when this hole in skins or what's the next shot. And I mean, it's just so much more fun. And I highly recommend 4-man scrambles at the end of every golf trip. That way you keep friends and not lose them.
That's a really good point. So I'm booking this trip where I kind of spoke onto it a little bit earlier, but we're doing 3 days and one's going to be 36, and I'm figuring out what the games we're going to play and all this, but we're still going to play our own ball and this and that. Yeah. So that's a really good point because, by the end of a trip, and gambling our minds away, like, and everyone is salty or sandbagging coming into it. I got those friends that literally played golf in high school. Like we're good, and then he's like, yeah, I'm an 18 right now. I'm like, no, you're not. Like you're 6.
There's always that one guy,
you live in Arizona, you play more. It's 180 degrees in the summer. No, I don't,
Well, especially a lot of times with like a lot of golf gambling games, they're never stroke play. It's always match play style type stuff. Yeah. So like a guy can bounce up to an 18, or even if I'm speaking for like myself, where I'm at like a 26, 27, most of my golf game is determined by really bad holes. And one really bad hole does not take me out of a game whatsoever.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah.
Like it's like for a lot of those guys where it's like, oh yeah, everything falls apart for like one hole every 4 holes for me, and that's what makes me a 15 or whatever, a double digit.
You're a perfect scramble partner.
Yes, he is.
I am a because I'm a mental nutcase. Like I'm a huge head case. So being able to take all the locks and chains off of my brain and just swing with no consequences whatsoever, I become a scratch golfer. Not that good, but I become a much better golfer.
In my head.
Yeah. All right, let me get us on track here. Let's bring us back to Southern Dudes. Before we get into the history of the course, let's hear more about our sponsor for today's episode, Braun & Fox.
Today's episode of Must Play is sponsored by Braun & Fox. Braun & Fox offers premium golf hats, towels, and more that were born by their founder's vision to combine a classic golf look with a new, innovative style, all while remaining affordable. And speaking of remaining affordable, Braun & Fox is giving a 15% off discount to all new customers. Just visit braunandfox.com/fairwagers. That's BRAWNANDFOX.com/fairwagers to claim your discount today.
Okay. Jamie, you already know a little bit about the history of the course. You mentioned the land it sits on. Do you know when it opened, or like kind of in its early years, what it was?
I know all of it, but I don't want to see the thunder if you guys know it. So, but all right. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I'll teach you something you don't know here, but you probably know most.
Let's try.
Also, let me just say 2 things. One, when you do golf history on Portland courses, San Diego courses, they have some really cool history because of how far back they go. Out here in the Valley, there's like not a ton of history usually. So this one's a little bit shorter. And then the other note too, before I begin, I'm going to be talking about Native American tribal communities that use the word Indian. I personally don't like using that word, but that's what they call themselves in this. So just know I will be using that phrase in the history. Okay. Southern Dunes is built in a fairly remote part of the state, often only known to people who seek it out or pass it on the way to San Diego through Maricopa and eventually Gila Bend. It sits in the middle of the desert, close to the base of the Estrella Mountains, south of Phoenix, wedged between two areas of tribal land, the Gila River Indian Reservation and the Auchin Indian Community. The Auchin Indian Community is part of Pinal County, located in a floodplain area with an enrollment of more than 1,000 tribal members and a land base of just over 22,000 acres. This used to actually be more than double the size, however, when President Taft signed documentation in 1912 that created a 47,000-acre reservation, but was reduced to less than 22,000 acres just a year later by another executive order. They lost half the land in a year. So part of the land they lost when it was reduced is the spot where Southern Dunes sits today, and they wouldn't gain back that land for almost 100 years. So you see, the course was originally formed in 2002 as a private men's-only club with a sole emphasis on golf and did not feature swimming, social, or physical fitness amenities that you would find in other private clubs. So designed by Brian Curley and consultant Fred Couples, but owned by private investors, they set out to build a course that wasn't a desert course at all, but something more reminiscent of Scotland or Australia sand courses. And ultimately, they wanted to become the rival of Whisper Rock up in North Scottsdale, and they tried to tout this as the Southern End's version of Whisper Rock when it opened, investing $15 million to build the course and requiring $2 million in annual operating costs. From its opening, though, Southern Dunes played as a long course and had no forward tees, so the land was initially flat, and they decided to design plenty of elevation change and the occasional blind shot so that the golf course could hide its desert roots and truly feel transported. Together, they brought in a variety of grasses and turf to make the large undulating greens and 109 bunkers covering 12 acres of sand, helping the dunes live up to its name.
Most in Arizona, Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But with its remote location, intentionally limited amenities, restricted market, males, and an eventual floundering economy, Southern Dunes did not financially survive. According to Garrett Wallace, who has managed the club through all of its incarnations and worked for Troon, founding member Dwayne Young came to the rescue, providing capital to keep the club afloat. When the property continued to struggle, though, Young sold a partial interest to Richard Zacher, a developer who planned to build houses and townhomes around the course on the 320-acre property. Zacher funded the construction of the new clubhouse that's stone and timber, and he held on to his interest in the property for only 2 years. But right then, the real estate boom basically collapsed here, and he couldn't begin his master plan community, and the venture went bankrupt. So there's no homes anywhere on Southern Dunes, which is
Thank God.
Yep.
Thank God that
It's a pro.
crashed.
It's a pro.
Yeah.
Big pro. So from there, the property reverted back to Young in 2007, and at that point, the Auchin Indian community began to focus its attention on the property. By the fall of 2009, the tribe had entered into serious negotiations to acquire the property. They were the logical buyer throughout, said Wallace. This land was part of their original reservation that was taken from them by executive order in 1913, and it was important to them in a symbolic way to regain that land. The golf course was also a good complement to the tribe's main enterprise, Harrah's Auction Casino Resort. It fits well with the casino, said the Auction tribal chairman. Most other casino properties in Arizona have golf courses, or at least have access to golf courses. So this helps us to be competitive and introduces economic diversity for sustained self-sufficiency. So they're basically trying to go up against Weekapaw and, Talking Stick and all the other ones.
Let's not put Talking Stick with Weekapaw and Southern Dunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be another episode. So Auction kept Troon on to manage the course, and with that brought in all kinds of future partnerships with the Southwest PGA and other organizations, leading them to host the Waste Management Open qualifying rounds, U.S. Open qualifiers, and Arizona State amateur tournaments. In 2014, the course went through a renovation to make the course more player-friendly while maintaining its championship-level golf design, and eventually earned it the number 6 in the best courses you can play in Arizona by Golfweek. Come to the course today, you'll find a fun challenge with wide fairways and large greens, but depending on how far back you play, this course can still find a way to kick you in the teeth if you're not careful. And speaking as someone who lives here and plays it often, don't try to overpower the course. Pretty quick history. Did you know most of that?
So I didn't know the turning of the hands of all the different owners and then kind of what they were planning to do with the real estate and stuff like that. I didn't know any of that. I knew about the land. I knew about 2002 and then 2014 going public and Freddie obviously being a partner and all that. But
Yeah.
I did not know the rest of it. No, so that's good to know. Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing place when you get to the grounds. Like you feel it, and there's just some places you can't manufacture something like that there.
Yeah, there's two things. Number one, Massey, did I hear you say that they started a men's club in 2002?
Mm-hmm.
That's bold.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, I like, again, I did enough of a double take in my head that I felt like I needed to follow up on a question over that of like, oh, we're still doing men's clubs only in 2002 in golf. Okay, cool. So we are not as far along as we think we are.
Also, can we pause for a second? I would love to say something. I play a lot as like a single, like moving here. I will tell you right now, 90% of the women that I play with are better or like more enjoyable playing partners than the frat boy or the crazy partier or like the guy that goes out there decked out in complete Chicago Bears gear and just wants to get away from his wife. Like this is like they're always really respectful, enjoyable, and they play quick. They don't do any of the little things that kind of annoy you as a playing partner.
You know what I have noticed about most female golfers is that they manage their expectations of their golf game extremely well. It's a thing that I talk about in life all the time because it's something that I probably need to practice. Is a lot of life is about managing expectations, and I find that most of the women that I play with know exactly where their golf game is supposed to be and maintain a very level-headed posture so that if they do anything bad, they're still very there at that very level spot. And then they get to pop up when they do something that they didn't know that they could do or were not expecting to do that day.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. They're like Jamie said, I second it. They're generally much more enjoyable playing partners than most of the guys that I get paired up with.
I'll third that. Absolutely.
That's a pass. It's a pass.
Yeah. I got 3 fun facts for you guys. Number 1 was when Zacher bought it, the guy who was going to develop the properties around the course, he tried to rename it Royal Dunes. And it was called Royal Dunes for 2 years until it went back to Southern Dunes. Fun fact number 2, Brian Curley, who designed Southern Dunes, also had his hands on a number of California courses, including the Rancho Bernardo Inn right next to you, TJ.
Gosh, it always comes back.
It always comes back to that course or other courses over there. And then third, this is a personal fun fact, but Garrett Wallace, the Troon guy I cited throughout the story, is a family friend of ours. And him and his wife are always at our kids' birthday parties. So
I just got my Troon card like 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
What a small world.
I know. Kind of crazy.
Also, another thing that I read about with the course is that Ochkin, they use that their heritage has like artistry of some sort. I don't want to mess this up. Their heritage has artistry that was incorporated into the redesign in 2014 when they widened the fairways and changed some of the bunkers to, I don't know what holes or anything, but I was reading that the artistry of like something to do with their heritage fills with the design. So if we could find any details about that, I think that'd be a cool little extra. Like hole 8 is designed like XYZ, for this reason. I think there's something out there to be found.
I didn't come across that, but that's really neat. I like that. I love little nods to history or to culture or other things like that at any establishment, but on a course, I think that's so cool. Sometimes it's as small as like the name of a hole, but it's got a meaning that is like more than just what it sounds like. Okay, so that could be considered one of the goods. I think we should get into the goods of the course. We talked about a few, but TJ, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think Shawn talked about it with the history of how there's no houses around the course at all. And I meant to talk about this earlier when we were talking about the round, but you stand out there and you look around and it's just the course for miles. And it's a very cool, very surreal feeling. If anyone has ever played pack trails at Bandon, where sometimes you feel like you're the only one out there.
Bandon trails or pack dunes?
Sorry, Bandon trails. That's what I was thinking. Correction. Strike that from the record, please.
I've never been up there, by the way. I need to go.
Oh, you got to go,
man. I'm just going to put a kibosh on that right now. We can't go belabor about Bandon right now. We don't have time for that podcast. But yeah, like you can get out there and sometimes you could feel like you're the only one out on the course. And then also, even if you do see other people out on the course, like looking for any direction and seeing no one at all or no houses, no establishments, no nothing. It's so cool and surreal. And there's not a lot of other courses like that. Traditionally, desert golf in Arizona is interweaved through other people's homes and neighborhoods and communities. And that's where that target golf comes from. So being able to have a property that is just out kind of in the middle of nowhere gives you a pro like this. It does have a con that comes with it, and we'll talk about it, but it's very cool to just be on a golf course and see nothing for miles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has a lot of feel. I don't know if you guys have ever played Kiowa Ocean Course.
Mm-mm.
So it's got a lot of that feel with like that tall kind of grass, fescue-ish with big sandy bunkers. There's no like you can club your or ground your club anywhere because nothing's really out of bounds. It's kind of the same at Dunes. It doesn't belong there, and it's really special when you're there. You know, nothing around you.
I might be wrong about this, but I think Curly had his hands on Kiowa too, because he worked with Pete Dye, and Dye did Kiowa. So there's probably a similarity to the whole thing. Dude, so many architects come from the Dye family.
Crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Anytime me and my buddy we'll go purposely play Pete Dye. There's a really beautiful course called Pound Ridge. It's in Pound Ridge, New York. You want to talk about a course outside of New York that people should check out, it's Pound Ridge. And they'll know it for sure. It's a Pete Dye course. But anytime we go and play Pete Dye courses, we always joke because we're on like the second or third hole. We're like, oh, fucking Pete Dye, man. like he's already got me. You know what I mean? He's already got me by the third hole.
Yeah, the sight lines or the mounds and the hills or the railroad ties. There's so many little things. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
One of my goods you talked about was a practice facility, and it's epic. But they are right now renovating that whole range. They're creating mini dunes. They're calling it #mini dunes, and it's got lights up that they're putting up there now. Plus, like you can play the range as like these mini par 3 holes at night.
I thought this was. Is this not already open?
Yeah, it's open.
I think it is open. Yeah, I haven't been there since it was open because it wasn't open when we went earlier.
So they, excuse me, they have, they did it, I want to say in 2019, they created, I don't know if the lights, I don't think I've ever noticed the lights, but that would be cool.
The lights was what they were putting in when we were there. Yeah.
Oh,
they're creating it, and they're making it the first night thing out there.
Okay. Grass clippings got them. They want that grass clippings $100 tee time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to go out to Maricopa at night, though, and play? I don't know if that's...
Would you question here? This kind of feeds into another one of my pros. So I'll second the practice facilities. Free range balls. I'm a stern believer that if you pay for your round, range balls should be included. They are there. A great chipping green with balls on it for you to use and a nice ball collector. That is a nice touch that not everyone has. A lot of ranges are like, here, take your 4 balls out there, and there's no way to pick them up, and you're just carrying around your 4 balls unless you have a Gimme Pro. Shout out to another one of our sponsors. But also, like, Massey, could you see a world in which you played a 2 p.m. tee time? You were done by 5:30. You hung out on my second pro, the great patio that they have out back. Nice fire pit, tons of space. Again, you're going to get to look out at a golf course and nothing else beyond that.
As a single man, yes, I can see that.
but then, yeah, and then having like dinner and then rolling into a nice little mini dunes afterwards with the boys. Like that's something that would make the 30 plus minute drive out there worth it. It was that if you can spend 7-8 hours out there, if your family allows it. Asterisk.
Yeah. But if you're traveling here and it's like a trip and you're in Arizona with guys and you ain't got shit else to do, yes, 100%. That fireplace is money too. It's so cool back there. It's really nice.
I had patio and fireplace. I put good patio for drinks post round. The carts are nice too. They're like real. I
Yeah.
love the cushy seats with the GPS, ball cleaner, coolers with ice, towels. Like it's tricked out. It's
I
got
look at
everything.
that the same way as the free range balls. Like,
Yeah,
come on, you know what I mean? Especially in peak season around Arizona when tee times get ridiculously high and it's like 280 for a tee time.
yeah,
Like, come on, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I put also interesting layout that challenges you off most tees and tough but fun par threes. I think the par threes there just make you think. And like we played as a 4-man scramble, I believe, on the back nine, like you said, and that par three that's like hole 11, I think.
It's 11. I was just thinking about that.
The flags in the back left, there's like a collection area right below it, and it was impossible for all four of us to hold the green. And I was like, man, we played this hole all different ways, and it was cool to see how you could play it 4 different ways and still kind of be boned if you didn't hit the right spot on the green. But I do like that because I feel like it's not your boring flat par three, just like here's your 120 club, go hit it. Like you got to hit this 120 club and land it in a good spot.
Your 220 club land it in a perfect spot. Yeah.
If you're playing for the back, some of those par
yeah.
threes are long.
Yeah, and there's not a ton of room to bail out on a lot of those par threes either. Like there's like you said, there's the collection area like to the left and behind, but then there's bunkers on the right, short. So like, what are you to do? Like even if you're taking the quote unquote safer approach and aiming for the middle of the green, you're still left with a very difficult shot.
Yeah. My last good here was pace of play. I personally have had good pace of play here compared to other courses, and I think it's because of its location that it doesn't get that many bachelor parties or groups of eggheads who are like just playing the local courses. Like generally, if you're out there, you're someone who really enjoys golf, and you probably are going to be respectful of things. You'll have your exceptions, but I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've really only had that one day that we were there, and it was not the best that day. But I will not let one day judge my overall pace of play experience. I usually will defer to.
Says the guy that was videoing on the course.
Oh, it's really funny when you do have to like record a round, and if pace of play is bad, everyone just assumes it's you. Like, I think it was hole 6, maybe hole 7, where we're recording on the green on a par 3, and I can see the guys on the tee box as we're like setting up the camera, like throw up their arms behind us, and I'm like, dude, it's a par 3. Like we had to wait too. Like it's not just because of us. Like I can guarantee you that we are sacrificing any sort of golf game or routine to try and not affect pace of play when we are recording anything on a golf course.
I love the guys that will hit into you and they see the people are in front of you and it's like, what do you really think is happening? There's like 14 people ahead of them that are also backed up, and all we are is a chain, in a link in the chain. But yeah, so I would agree. I think so. One, it's far away, so like you don't get. I live down by the 202, so it's not as far from me. So I love the southern courses. If you're coming from North Scottsdale, it's like an hour drive. It's tough. I want to definitely give them the shout out on the good for being good with their marshals. There is a lot of courses that have marshals that don't stop or don't do anything. They just drive around and they don't say anything. These guys are really friendly and nice, but they make sure that you're playing, and they don't even really say anything, but like, they're there and they're just on top of it. They're on top of it everywhere. It's a really well-run course. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I actually remember the marshal from our round. It's funny because you said they don't necessarily like sit there and talk to you, but they make sure that everything's going good. Ours sat and talked to us for so long that I was worried that he was actually the one who was affecting the pace of play on the course.
He was trying to do hospitality. He was trying to be nice and like, thank us for coming out and stuff. But TJ and I, knowing we were filming, we were like, hey, yeah, sounds good. Like,
we need this time.
Yeah.
Do you have to get approval when you film?
No, sometimes you'll get someone to come out and say something, but honestly, the reason that TJ and I have been doing more of these podcasts and other stuff on the channel versus recording is because it is hard to record on the course. Like you usually have to sacrifice someone who's not going to play the round.
Yeah.
And we've learned you can't go out there with a foursome and a fifth guy who's going to film. That raises all kinds of eyebrows.
Yeah.
So you
got
got to have a
away with
foursome
it.
with 3 guys playing and 1 guy sacrificing.
We got away with the 5-some at the Phoenician and but we had to do a lot of sweet talking.
Yeah, a guy came up and was like, "Did you get approval for that?" Like he tried to come up and shut it down.
We had to do a lot of sweet talking, but yeah, it's very tough to go out also like as a solo and just fire up the camera every time, especially sometimes with 3 random strangers, and just be like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna record every shot I do today. Don't mind me."
Yeah.
So, I will also say my last pro here, the course is always in mint condition. And I say always, but because I'm seconding off of what I've heard you guys talk about was exclaimed about how great the course always is. And I noticed that day that we played, it was immaculate. I know that it was quote unquote, it's the tail end of peak season for Arizona because you're trying to make sure that it's good for spring training and all the people who are coming to town then, but it not a blemish anywhere really on the course.
I mean, you'll hit the greens. They'll have a full tee shot, and you're not seeing like there's no divots. There's no problems anywhere in your line. It's like really, really well done, and it's partly the way that they manicure and take care of those greens and everything. But it's just they do a phenomenal job. You also don't see workers, so I'm a big early morning golf guy. Like, give me the first tee time and leave me alone by myself. I've been out in dunes by myself, and it's like the best feeling in the world, just playing early morning. And you never run into the crew. I've run into the crew one time on like 17. Wow. Yeah. So they're on it. They're really on it. They're good.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about course condition, and maybe we'll segue here into the cons, I do recall the bunkers being not super fluffy. Like it felt like a lot of the sand was very like impacted, or it was just straight dirt. So
they're trying to be like an Australian sand dune type course. They're going for that like native sand feel to most of the bunkers, because a lot of bunkers that aren't isolated connect to the desert.
Yeah.
So you get this like kind of that type of sand. But you're right. Like when we were there, it was like that. Yeah.
I will say I've caught bunkers a couple times that are like hard pack, and it's like they don't go in and really like break them and stuff a ton. I think because it's part of that natural landscape and make them super fluffy. But when they do get wet, they're packed, and there's a lot of bunkers, so you feel it.
And it's a little tough when you've got one that's like kind of greenside on a par 3. Like, what am I supposed to do here? I don't think it was me. I think it was Alex who actually got stuck on one on the front 9 that was like, he went bunker to bunker. And
that's like the par 3. I think it's number 3 or 4. Yeah. And you're hitting 3 or 4 into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there wasn't a whole lot he could do to actually grab the ball and put any sort of spin on it.
Dunes is that place though. Dunes, you'll play really good if you're out of the bunkers and you have a shot to like score, but it can also just like ruin your whole day in the bunkers. Yep. It's tough. Yeah. A bunker day there is a tough day.
What other cons do you have?
We'll talk about the drive, depending upon where you live, or if you are someone coming from out of town and you're probably staying in Scottsdale or Arcadia or even more central. It can get up to about an hour drive. It's definitely out of the way. So I would say if you're going to do it as a morning round, maybe get everybody up and get them out early, because you don't want to drive back through the traffic either in the later end of the day.
Another great point to hitting up mini dunes. At the end of the round, do whatever, play mini dunes, avoid the traffic, because that traffic is real. I got in a really bad car accident on that road. Yeah,
you get that single. I don't think it's a single lane, but if you get an accident, it becomes a single lane.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Real quick on the drive, I want to say something. For people who are coming to Phoenix, and we gear our tests in this podcast usually to people visiting the area, or if you're local, where would you take people to? And I know so many people who do the research in here and they've got all the courses that are in Phoenix. And then they go, okay, if I'm going to venture out, is it Quintero, Southern Dunes, Weekapaw, or some other course that I'm not listing that's pretty far out? But those are the main three. And usually Southern Dunes loses to the other two 10 times out of 10 when people are going through where they're going to go, because most of the time people are staying in the north part of the valley. They're going Scottsdale or somewhere else. So you can get to Fountain Hills, you can get to Quintero, even though they're still long drives most of the time. I would say, even though I agree this is a hard drive and it's a con, I would challenge people to try not to go play one of those other two courses, because if you're going to go play a North Scottsdale course like Boulders or Troon or Legend Trails or any of those, you're going to get that same experience like Weekapaw there. But Quintero is its own thing, and it's amazing. It really is. But Southern Dunes is like the only course that's not like any of those other courses. So when, to your point, you said you're playing TPC with the guys when you're bringing them out. Southern Dunes is that variety. You're like, hey, you're going to get this at a couple courses, but why not try one course that feels a little different and see how you shoot, see how you score. So that variety, I think, makes it worth the drive, but the drive does suck. It is a con.
There's no other course, though, that you can point to that's like Dunes. Yep. And to the flip side of the drive kind of sucking, right? But if you're a real golf like addict and you really care about like the you want to talk about Northeast and in New York, I used to have to drive an hour and a half to go play like shitholes, dog tracks.
Yeah.
And that was just because I was like, oh great, they have grass on their fairways. And like it was mediocre. This is like if it's anyone that is like comparing these, Weekapaw is obviously really nice too, but real desert target golf. Mm-hmm. This is like Southern Dunes is like nothing else. Quintero, really nice, a lot of different elevation. Wickenburg, another one of them. But Dunes, man, like you're not going to get any. And when you sit on that patio or you sit on any of the holes, there's like minimal elevation changes that you don't feel but are there. Mm-hmm. You'll feel them on like different days, maybe when it's windy or whatever. But you can kind of see the mountains and it's kind of flat wherever you are. So it's like really beautiful, scenic, but you're not exposed. I don't know how to explain it. It's really beautiful out there. Yeah. It's if you're a real golf addict, you go because you go to where the course is, and it's one of those courses.
Yeah, I agree. One of my cons, speaking of the patio, is I love the patio for drinks, and I love that fire pit, but the restaurant there leaves a little to be desired, unfortunately. It has a menu that, if you sit inside, they'll bring to you. Same with outside, but if I'm thinking of restaurants in the south part of the valley, I'm thinking of like Whirlwind, for example, that I love their clubhouse and restaurant afterwards. And at Southern Dunes, if someone's like, hey, after the round, what are we doing? I wouldn't be like, yeah, we're going to grab dinner here. I'd most likely say, no, we're going to head back and grab something on the way back into town. I don't know why you're laughing so hard, TJ.
Because you guys didn't eat dinner here. You guys went back and had Chili's.
Hell, I was just going to bring up Chili's is better than the restaurant.
But I think you're also fighting the fact that you want to get back, and you're like, you just want to be done.
Yes, but if you look at the prices and then what you get, like I've eaten here a couple times and I've been let down. And turn-wise, the food is okay. Like I appreciated what they had. And I like the drinks and whatnot, but they got one person working in the restaurant. It takes a while, and the food's not great. It's a little expensive, and I'm just like, it's not. Yeah. I'd rather go to Chili's.
I will say, from a turn experience, I find that the best experiences are the ones where there is a restaurant inside that connects to a separate shack for the turn.
Yeah,
that services the people. Where you don't. Greyhawk is the perfect example.
The best.
Specifically, I'm not sure how Talon fares, but on Raptor side, it's phenomenal. Where you don't have to go back into the restaurant to order and then wait with all of the regular patrons, and you have the same server or the same bartender as everyone in the restaurant does. There is someone just dedicated to fulfilling your order, and I don't care if that food is just already prepared and ready to go. I want to just keep going. So this one, it is a huge con that I have to like go in, stand at the bar. I think they have like a little bar outside That was
it's never. No one's ever on it.
I've never seen anyone at that bar.
I was gonna say we were there on a Sunday in March, like definitely a time where it would be peak season to have somebody out there, and nobody's out there.
Yeah.
If they hit that whole area with a little bit more music, right? You get the fire pit, get that back bar filled up a little bit, and like you said, get ready for the people with the turn, with food for the turn, and that kind of expectation. It'd be a little bit better, but yeah, I agree. It's kind of lackluster in all regards.
Yep.
Yeah,
Go
ahead, Massey. I can.
I have two other cons. One, I have never said this about any course I think we've done on this podcast. Bugs. There's a lot of flies and mosquitoes nonstop in the summer or in the fall here. In the spring, you didn't really experience it too much, TJ, but you ever stop to pee on your way to San Diego and you get out and it's just like shit tons of flies. It's just everywhere. Dune suffers from that because of where it is in the washes and stuff in that little valley.
Where it is in the wash, it's the most excessive amount of water within however many miles. Like it's a bunch of water and grass in the middle of the desert.
It's not their fault, but it's the only course I pack bug spray where I'm like, God, this isn't gonna get eaten alive. And then the other one I had was lots of bunkers. I just put this as a con because if I'm playing the appropriate tees, the bunkers are usually not that much of an issue for me until I get greenside. Like the fairway bunkers are usually in places where I know what I'm going to do around it. The second I let Mike talk me into playing tees further back because he's a longer hitter than I am, I'm in every bunker. And I'm like, this sucks. So it's not a con that they have so many. It's that like I mentioned in the history, if you go try to overpower this or you play a little further back, all of a sudden, all that trouble is all you see. And sure enough, I wind up in there. So I'm going to put.
I think that speaks to the playability, though. It's like if you move up, you can kind of get past it and not have to deal with it. But if you're playing a tournament and you're a pro golfer, this is a problem for you now. Yeah,
for sure.
Love it.
The last con I had, which I don't think we've also said about any courses on Must Play so far, is the GPS and where the positioning of where you're allowed to drive the cart is. Because this is non-traditional desert golf, there's a lot of places where you think you can drive your cart into to get closer to where your ball should be. And the cart definitely lets you know as soon as you are even remotely close to those areas that you cannot drive the cart there. And then you have to do the sad, depressing, slow reverse out of
2
those
mile an
areas.
hour reverse.
Yeah, the high handicap reverse.
Hand up. That's me. Or I'm like, they eventually hit a point where I think I'm just like, just drop me off. I'll grab 3 clubs and I'm just going to walk. But it's like, I love GPS in carts because I love not having to the phone or the rangefinder or any of that type of stuff, but I hate the beeping.
The geofencing.
Yeah. There's I saw a thing one time, how you tap it on the corners of the screen and it unlocks it to martial mode. And then you can just do whatever you want from that point.
Does that work?
Because does not condone setting the carts into martial mode.
Unlocking your GPS.
Yeah.
Jailbreak. Any other cons for you, Jamie?
I'm just like so in love with dunes. I would say if anything, it's kind of the bunkers can be tough, but again, it's how your day goes. You know what I mean? But no, I mean, I think we covered most of them. The drive is the only tough part. I think the pill that anyone needs to swallow. And once you get out there and you're on the practice facility and you see the grounds, you're like, I'm not even thinking about the drive, Yeah.
All right. So all that's left to do is get into the must play test, see it's officially a must play or not. But once again, let's hear from our sponsor for today's episode, Braun and Fox.
No doubt about it. Shawn and I absolutely love the Braun and Fox hats. We just got our second round of hats. I went with this baby powderish blue rope hat. And then Shawn, I think you picked up one of the rope hats as well, but you've been absolutely loving the olive hat that you got the first time from them. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been wearing this every day out here in Arizona summer, and the sweat stains that usually come from every hat have not shown on this. It's held up really well. I've actually shelved the other hats that I typically wear out into the course, and I've just been wearing this. So I don't know what they did in there, but it's working, and this hat's been one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely love them. And they also just dropped 5 new hats. I think they actually came out this week. I think they called them like their 9/11 collection, just in honor of 9/11. They dropped 3 new hats in partnership with Folds of Honor in Tennessee. So that's got their logo on there. There's some cool colors that they haven't done previously. And then they've done 2 new American flag styles of hats, like an all white one with a white rubber patch on it. That's an American flag. And then they've done a darker, like foresty olive green. Shout out to Alex Diaz. He'll probably want to buy that hat. If you know anything about Alex, he loves forest green. So head over to their website. We'll repeat it as it was at the top of the show. BRAWNANDFOX.com/fairwagers to go take a look at those and claim your 15% off discount today.
Okay, let's get into the must-play tests. So TJ and I have devised an objective test here of 10 questions to determine if a golf course is a must-play. It must score a 6 out of 10 to be up for debate, or a 7 out of 10 or higher to automatically earn must-play status. Anything below a 6 out of 10 is not a must-play. So
can you guys give me an example of how hard you're scaling these?
It's
grading them.
It's a pass-fail for each question, and majority rules for each. So it's got to get 6 passes to be up for debate.
Okay.
Yeah. And we can argue the pass-fail on the question, of course. Makes for good content.
Yeah.
So question 1, the Augusta test. Is this course easy to get a tee time on? Does it have a straightforward booking process? And are there times available the week of your intended play? You play the most here, Jamie. What do you think?
Yeah. So I play as a single. So I can get on anytime a lot. When I'm with buddies, I get on. I'd say if you're coming with more than 4, obviously plan ahead, you're not getting on that week. You could, depending on what time you play. But yeah, you can get on this course, and I think it passes.
Yeah, I pass it as well because I think of its location. That's why it's usually more available than other courses, especially in prime season. And it definitely has tee times for doubles. When I want to go play with Mike, sometimes it's like our slim pickings in the valley sometimes in that season are like the ones I really don't want to hit up. And then it's like Southern Dunes. And I forgot to set my boundary on Golf Now wide enough. So when I go from like 15 miles to 25 miles, it's like Southern Dunes. I'm like, oh, forgot. Yes, let's go. So it's always a shoe-in for me if it's available, which it usually is.
Yeah.
TJ?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record here and defer to whatever Shawn said, because he is our ringleader of the masses and he books our tee times for us. So if he thinks it passes, I think it passes.
Hell yeah. All right, 1 for 1. Question 2, the bang for your buck test. Is this golf course worth the rate you pay? Do you feel like this course is a good value during peak season?
Yeah, all day. And because of the drive, it's cheaper. But like I said, once you get over that, and if you just teleported to a course and you said, I paid this, or you pay $300 plus for North Scottsdale, no, it's way better down in Dunes. I think it's like with the Truant card and everything, you can get under $100 if you really want to, even during peak. 120 max, somewhere in there.
I think the highest I've ever seen it in like the winter was like 180 something, which sounds high to people, but like if you're coming from out of town booking winter golf in Phoenix, good luck. Like you would have to
very
180.
Yeah. 250 is like kind of the standard that I just put in my head as like the anchor for a round. Yeah. Which is crazy.
TJ, you gonna give me the thumbs up for this one too?
Yeah. I also looked, just even looking at tee times today and looking at how much it is right now, knowing that it's starting to cool off in Arizona, quote unquote. Yeah. But it looks like it's extremely affordable for right now, even though we're not touching peak season.
What is it?
I think I looked and it was like, well, I think they're closed for maintenance right now. But I believe they reopen at the beginning of November in 2 weeks, and it looked like it was only going up to like 145 for like your 9 a.m. tee times. So that's pretty affordable for a golf course of that quality.
Yeah, and Churn has dynamic pricing too, so like those prices change whenever you're booking.
Yeah. Okay, 2 for 2. Question 3, the Iverson test. Does this course have good practice facilities? Would you spend time warming up here or head for the bar before the round?
Practice.
We talk about practice,
Practice.
not a game.
I love that no matter how many people you're interviewing, this is going to be the response to the Iverson test is just
Easily.
yelling practice. It's the best. Yeah. Go for it, TJ.
Yeah, I mean, this is as the habitual practicer, I think I got there extremely early that day. And I think
what do you guys consider early for practice? I love this question.
This is a topic.
This is a hot topic. I like to get to a course probably somewhere between 90 minutes to 2 hours.
What? Listen, I'm an hour, 50-minute an hour guy, and I am like the outlier in with all my boys. They're like an hour. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing for an hour? I'm like, listen, I gotta putt, then I hit, then I chip, then I hit again, and then I putt, go back. I got my routine. 2 hours? TJ.
It's aggressive.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about things here that can happen before a round. All can happen. Don't necessarily have to happen, but all can happen. You're going to a new course, right? One, you don't necessarily know where to go, so you are unfamiliar with the check-in process, and you are driving by yourself, like I was that day at Southern Dunes. So you drive in by yourself. You got to go check in. Pro shop. You've never been in that pro shop before. I'm a merch boy. I'm not Jones, but I'm definitely a merch boy. So I'm going to walk around and take in all the perusings, do all of the necessary check-ins in a pro shop. I also am a person who likes to maintain their caloric intake on a golf course. So I need to figure out, am I going to eat before the round? Am I going to eat at the turn? Do I need to buy some snacks beforehand? Do I do all this? Then now we're getting into just the practice portion of pre-round. So then we're going to practice. We're going to hit some balls. Try not to hit too many. Try not to hit too little. We're definitely going to hit some chips. Definitely got to roll some putts. Got to do all three.
Yeah.
Gonna, at least got to hit driver once to make sure we know what it feels like. And then we're probably going to grab another cocktail, or we're going to grab a cocktail before we get out on the course. And and then, of course, like we said, we talked about all the coulds that could happen. I don't want that to happen.
I thought this was going to be your leading like excuse is like, listen, Bob, like, that's the only one I can get behind because when you are
tell you about three little letters called IBS.
I will say, if you're getting there 2 hours early, like Dunes is a great practice facility to be somewhere 2 hours early.
If
did practice
a lot at Dunes, but also I think I was entirely unsure of how long the drive could take. And I was leaving town that day. So I was driving back to San Diego from Dunes. So I was like, if we get there early, we get there early. It's whatever. And then I was really early. So I chipped a lot that day.
TJ text me, "Are you close?" right as the other guys and I sat down at Chompy's. we were like, they don't live here, and one of them loves Chompy's. I was like, yeah, I'm good. Let's go to Chompy's and Chandler, whatever. And we sat down. Waitress is coming to check on us, and I get a text, "Are you close?" I'm like, how do I tell them we're not even on the way?
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Yeah.
But
you know what though? As a high handicapper, when I first started, I only started playing in 2018, and I finally got down. I'm like a 9. I know it's like taboo to talk about, but like got down to 9. When I was in the 14s to higher, all I wanted to do was stand in practice. This is the most fun. I mean, it still is, but it's like, it's the most fun learning and getting that experience because I think a lot of stress on golf courses comes from, as a beginning golfer for myself anyways, was like not knowing what to do. And like, you have this opportunity, but then you got these people standing in the fairway waiting for you. And you're like, I want to drop another ball and try to chip this again, but I can't because I got to hurry up. And you got all this other extra stuff that as like the years go on, you learn to like drop that stuff and be like, fuck the people behind me. I don't really care, but like I really enjoy just dropping 100 balls and chipping all 100 of them, It's
imagine
awesome.
though you just had a kid, Jamie, right? Like, is this your first or second?
First.
Okay. Yeah. Now imagine telling your wife you're going to go to the course 2 hours early.
So I'm like the luckiest guy in the world where she's like, you need to go golf, babe, because you're getting stressed out. Like, please go. Like,
Oh, nice.
go have your time.
Nice.
Fully supportive of it. But anytime I come home, it's never, you can't be tired. You know what I mean? There's no, you got
just
to
want to nap on the couch, but there's no chance.
She goes, no, get up. You got duties. Yeah.
I don't even think we talked about the practice facilities in this question, but we all know it's a pass.
It's a pass. Yeah.
It's so nice. Yeah. Just a nice grass range, all the balls that you could ever want to hit, actual targets out on the range to hit to. And like I said,
other than Greyhawk, would you guys say there's another one that's in the ballpark of? I mean, Weekapa's pretty nice.
Whirlwind's nice.
Whirlwind's
I love Whirlwind practice facilities.
Yeah, and they have multiple ones too.
Whirlwind's good. Phoenician's good. Like Phoenician just redid their range and it's in good shape.
I was there a couple of years ago when they were like, I played it and it was like under construction everywhere.
Oh,
yeah. So I got to get back there.
Theirs is good. Quinteros is amazing if you're going to go out there. And then, I mean, any of the North Scottsdale ones are fairly decent, right? Some of them are hit or miss, though, like Boulders. I don't like their practice facility, but the course is great. So, same
with Raven. Like you cannot find grass on the practice facility. You're just hitting off of like their seed.
So, but as a fellow lefty, we get a little bit of the more prime cut from the stalls in the range because no one's hitting on that side. So, all right,
ruining a spot for someone else in the future.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. All right, 3 for 3. Doing well here. So, question 4, the Jonesy test. Could you see yourself spending $100 on merch in their pro shop? Do they have a logo or apparel worth wearing?
Dunes, yeah. I like their logo. I actually use, I have a ball marker, and there's like 3 different colors. And when I bought it, I bought all 3 because I liked it. I'm not a big, like, you know, the hats that are like Dunes. I don't like things like that, but they have pretty good merch for the most part. They don't have any stuff for lefties, though. I will hit them on that. Like, you know, when there's no wedges or putters to just look at or to like mess around with in the
You're buying clubs in a pro shop?
No. But when I'm looking around a pro shop, I want to see like the new shit that like I expect you to have. I don't just care about your shirts that are on sale that are branded that are too big for me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I want you to have like a lab putter and have a lefty one.
I thought you were going to talk about gloves, and then you went putter wedges, and I was like, whoa.
Like, if you're going to get me to buy anything in your pro shop needs to be like A1 from top to bottom for me to like consider. If you have a pro shop that is like the restaurant version of Southern Dunes, I'm out. Like, I'm probably not even going to try to find that one thing. But I do buy a ball. I collect balls in the pencils. So, like, I'll buy a logo ball. But, you could have a cool logo, though, for me to, like, rep your stuff. It's hard. You know, I'm not really that guy.
TJ?
So, I, too, have a ball marker. It's here in my hand. I'll bring it up to the camera here.
Oh, that's a good one. That's the,
It's the bigger one. It's got another ball. It's got another marker.
I got the one inside of it.
Yeah, that slips out of it. That's probably not going to come by great on camera. I think this logo stinks.
What?
Why? I know that it's
fescue, the flag.
I know it's got the little fescue of the tall grass and the flag, but I think it's boring. To be fair, the ball marker was the only thing I bought in that pro shop, despite getting there 2 hours early. So this is a fail for me. I felt like I know we don't necessarily rank the pro shop experience in this question, but the pro shop is very small, and I believe the word is verklempt. But Sean Massey will probably correct me on that if I'm wrong. Cool. So yeah, I didn't love it. I didn't love anything in there. Nothing really spoke to me. I don't think I would see myself spending $100.
Unfortunately, I'm with you, TJ. Jamie,
body bagged Jamie.
Okay, let me ask you guys this: what logo? Because this is something I debate with all of my buddies about, like logos, and they all buy head covers and stuff, and I'm not like, I don't do that unless I really really love it. Who do you think has a really good logo
in the game?
In our area?
Oh, because like that answer is Wildwood in Portland or Shorties at Bandon. Both those logos are my favorite logos in golf.
Shorties with a Y.
Yeah, it's the new short course that opened up at Bandon. It's a bear with a flag. It's so sick. But in the Valley, ooh.
Oh, that is
Okay.
sick. That is cool. Yeah.
Okay, so Valley course logos, they're if I could have a bingo board, we should totally make TJ a bingo board of logos in the Valley. There's your bird, okay, your raven, your Eagle Mountain, your Greyhawk. They're all
which I like Greyhawk's logo. I said on the pod, I said
bird.
Yeah.
Greyhawks. I like Greyhawk's logo.
Greyhawk's logo, just like Raven. I mean, it's the same thing, except theirs is diagonal.
Yeah.
What else? Okay, then cactus. So you have a cactus everywhere, and I mean, like Weekapaw. I don't even know if they have one, but like their Choya course logo, I've seen like alt ones with a cactus. It's fine, but if you're coming from out of town, maybe you want that. So there's that. So it's cactus, bird, or a roadrunner, or a snake, or something like that, desert animal. And then the third one usually is tribal, and that's like Whirlwind that does the Kokopelli, something like that. There's a Native American influence to it. Mm-hmm. So I was expecting when we came to Southern Dunes, I hadn't looked up the logo, and I was like, oh, this is going to be like a sick Native American logo, kind of like Whirlwind or something else like that. And then I saw that, and I was like, no.
I like simplistic. I don't like something that's going to be. You look at it, and it's kind of like an eyesore, like the birds. I would never be able to buy anything with the bird.
Yeah. So again, I didn't answer your question. I gotta look at all the logos now. I'll get back to you on that. But
that bingo there would be fun.
What else? There's like Silverado. Silverado's got like a horse.
The horse. Yeah. Dobson Ranch is a horse like shoe. TJ bought a sick head cover from Phoenician. That
it's
I don't know who made it.
It's by CMC Designs, and it's fully embroidered, and it's like horizontal, so you have to look at it like long ways, but it's like a golf course, and it's with full camelback like in the background.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so sick. I get so many compliments on it, and it's like it's just a nice touch to where I'm from, because everybody's always like, oh, is that like a real place? I'm like, yeah, it's actually Phoenix.
Nice.
Well, Phoenician's logo itself, just like the Phoenix, it's like, yeah, it's kind of just
I'm gonna research logos after this, and I'm gonna edit in right here my favorite logo.
But okay, it's a fail.
It's a fail though.
It's a fail.
3 for 4. So question 5, the buzzworthy test. Are there multiple holes worth talking about? Does this course have more than one hole that a group would want to immediately go play again? I'm gonna pass this. I think there's so many holes that I can remember, which right away is a good sign for me. And almost all the ones I want to go play again are the par 3s. How many courses can you say the par 3s are the ones that you want back? But they're so well designed that I just love them. And I have some bad memories on those par 3s where I've like lost around there gambling. But man, do I want that back. So I'm going to pass.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the par 4s and the par 5s are kind of similar. Enough of a challenge between them to where it doesn't necessarily make or break it, but you hit the nail right on the head, Shawn. The par 3s stick out so much. I think almost every story I told about a hole today was about a par 3. So yeah, they're all different, unique challenges, and they're all structured a little bit differently to where there's a lot of times those holes where you're like, I would love to have a second chance at playing all 4 of those par 3s that I played today.
Yeah, I pass it. I mean, I love the par 3s. I like the back 9 better. I will say I like the back 9. It's a lot more fun. You get the long par 5 with the sand all the way up the right hand side of it. You get the drivable par 4 right after that you can maybe get it. But like, there's a lot of holes that, you know how else I score this is like you drop a second ball because it's fun to try another shot because you can play it a whole different way, you know? So I pass that.
On the back 9 though, can we agree 18 kind of stinks?
I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. But
I don't really like 9 either. Yeah.
10 or 9? Oh, 9's the one with the green that like it like has that big dip or whatever.
Well, 9 is like, there's like a big valley in it, but you're kind of up on the hill hitting down into it. It's protected by the 2 bunkers in the front. I just don't like that tee shot for my eye. And then 18's tee shot sometimes gets down to that cart path.
Yeah, or the water.
You can run it out sometimes. It's dangerous. But for me, the last thing I want to see is water on my right on my approach shot on 18, dude. And it just like, it's the last shot I want to take on the day. And 50-50, it's going in that one. I'm pulling it in there. Yeah.
I had this debate online the other day of what do you want to see on as an 18th hole? Do you want a long par 4 or a short par 5? And it was resoundingly short par 5s on people who want to leave off on a good note on their day with maybe an eagle or a birdie. So yeah, seeing water on 18 is not exactly everyone's favorite way to end their day.
Yeah.
But then you get like Raven on 17 at 600 yards. So going into the very, very end of the round, you're like, I got to put it together on 17 or it's a problem. Yeah.
I have a quick story on 18 at Southern Dunes. Maybe this could be a clip here. What do you do when you're in a 2-man scramble and you don't verify that the ball you're going to take is in play, and you pick up the first guy's ball and drive over to the second, but it's nowhere to be found?
You don't have to debate that because you have to hit it.
So, but do you go back to where the first was, where you picked up, or do you drop somewhere you think the second ball ended?
Drop with the stroke?
I see. You're not finding the second ball.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's I think your playing partners get to decide what the ruling is there. That's not for you to decide anymore.
I think you take a stroke no matter what because you picked up the ball, and if you can't find the other one, you're taking a stroke.
Right?
But it depends on how good your friends are. It depends how nice the friends are.
Yeah. So again, Mike and I, he's a longer hitter. We play there, and we're playing far back. And I realize, okay, I'm not going to get to the water, but he might. And I warned him about it. He has a similar shot shape to mine, but we're lefty and righty. So he draws his, and I fade mine a little bit. But he has this like laced stripe down the middle, and he's like, oh, that should be money. And I put mine on the far left, but like 40 yards short. So I usually am like, no, let's go verify a ball. But this is on 18. We've been having drinks. But the match was coming down to 18. This was the tiebreaker hole. So we just swing by. I lean out, pick mine up, and we go over to his. And we can't find it. And the other partners are like, it's got to be in the water. But we look in the water. We can't find it anywhere. And he's like, there's no way that thing reached the water. And we had this hot debate about the whole thing. And so we wound up taking the stroke, but we then debated, where do you go? Do we go back to my ball where we picked up because we know it was there? I
if you're taking a stroke, no matter what, I'm taking it close as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. But yeah, you should never pick that up. You also want to be on the left side. You know what I mean? Top left on 18 over there. Kind of, you can hit into the green a little bit better versus having to go over the corner of that water.
Yeah. We thought we had a wedge in from his, and mine was going to be like an 8-iron or something. So we wound up taking, but we should have. Anyways, okay. So 4 for 5 here. Doing well. Question 6, the Glizzy test. Does this course have good food at the turn? Are you eating here or packing your own snacks?
Packing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we said it's passable, but it's like if it can be avoided, I would rather avoid it, especially from like an experience standpoint of like
convenience.
I'm gonna walk in there, it's not gonna be fast, and then I'm not gonna really love what I want, so I'm gonna fail it for that.
Same. Okay, pretty easy. 4 for 6. Question 7, the Marshall test. Does this course have a decent pace of play? Can you rely on a relatively quick round here if you have somewhere to be after? Somewhere to be after is operative.
Have you budgeted in how long it could take you to get back into Phoenix Metro? Yeah. Like, have you forewarned your wife or your fiance that it is not a guaranteed, 30-minute drive back in? It could be very
I think you have to assume that's the case. Like, I don't want to ding this question because of its location.
True.
I would ding a course on its location if like we talked about Coronado and how bad traffic can be and how there's no chance you're going to get back in time.
San Diego?
Yeah. But like I said, when I've played here, I've had decent pace of play. If I'm not sticking around for night golf at Mini Dunes, like I know it's going to be relatively fast, and I just have to budget in the time it's going to take to get back and maybe stop at Chili's. So
yeah.
I
would say pass because I'm going to time it up knowing that I'm going to avoid those things. And I think that's more on me versus on the course. Like, I don't want to ding a course because I failed to realize the traffic was going to be at 6 o'clock and I'm ending at 6, But if you end that round at 2 p.m., you're cruising,
Yeah.
Really nice drive actually out there too. It's like flat, but you have all those mountains on the side of you.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
TJ?
I'm gonna pass it as well. You can't necessarily dock it for the drive. That's not the course's fault. It's somebody's fault a long time ago who decided to put a golf course there.
Private investors' fault.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5 for 7, one away from being in debate land. So question 8, the high handicapper test. Would a mid to high handicapper enjoy this course in typical conditions? Is it fair to all handicaps, and are the greens or pin positions fair?
I'll go TJ.
Yeah, this is a tough one because you can. I know we talked about it being a desert course, and it's not target golf, so it's a little bit more open desert. That if you can go and find it, you can punch it out. But the balls are not as easily found as we think they should be on this course. So it's got that going against it. If your buddies press you to play back even a tee of what you think you should be playing, all of those fairway bunkers definitely come into play. Like that is very tough. And all of the greens here are pretty tricky and challenging. I think that this is a fail. I like the challenge of the course, and if you asked me tomorrow to go play Southern Dunes, would I want another crack at it? Absolutely, because I think it just takes a few things to go differently to change how you're going to score that day.
Yeah.
But I think that most people are going to run into 2 out of the 3 issues that I listed. That's probably going to have a pretty bad day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to hear from the lower handicaps what they think their friendship.
I'm not low. Let's not
lower.
Yeah.
It's all relative. Everyone's low compared to me.
Yeah. Shawn, I'll let you go.
I was going to say the fairways being wider and not as target golf as some of the courses you might play in your trip are a pro for this. However, I have seen some of the toughest pins at a course at Southern Dunes where I'm like, oh, there's no way even I'm stopping a ball here. So I'm going to just aim for the middle of the green, do the best I can, see where it lands. Because it depends on the time of year you play as well, right? If you're going to play any time around the qualifying rounds, good luck.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play on the shoulder side of the summer, it's gettable. But again, like I feel like they know they don't like have heritage, but they know their role in this golf scene and its reputation for the qualifiers. And they generally put the pins in places where you're like, oh, I could totally see how this is a tough test. And that makes it tough for a high handicapper.
Yeah, you don't want to be a Waste Management Open qualifier, Phoenix Open qualifier, and then have some random weekend hacker come out and be like, this course ain't shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say Dunes is harder than TPC. In my
I agree.
I love TPC too. It's like such a fun course.
Stadium or championship?
Stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just like really love playing that course.
Yeah.
High handicapper test. So you guys are spot on, I think, right? Like, I think that if I was a high handicapper watching this and I'm like, okay, my boys want to go to Dunes, I don't know how I'll play the right tee. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of those mandatory carries, it's just going to fuck with your head, 1. And 2, it's going to put you in the wrong positions for any approaches and stuff like that. I will say, though, that if you're a high handicapper and you're playing it, it's going to be more difficult because it is one of those courses where they're going to bait you with a pin, and you don't. If you're a lower handicap, hit the middle of the green, or this is the right landing spot. And high handicappers would be like shooting pins and going straight for the pin every single time because, like, you learn that that's not necessarily the case. And Dunes has that to it, where it's like, I don't care where the pin is on certain holes. Mm-hmm. I'm swinging to the exact spot that I know. That par 3, for example, that you were talking about, that Valley's in, and then the back of it in the left side falls off, Shawn, 11, that you were talking about. The only landing spot on 11 is center right, where it's a little bit flat. I don't care where the pin is. Center right, because then the bailout is also right front, and that's the only safe play because the whole front is dead, and the whole back is dead. And if you don't know that, and the pin's on the left side, and you try to go for that, you're going off the back of that green 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, the pin was back left when we played. I was like,
you can't hold it. It's
no chance.
4 for 4.
Yeah.
All right.
So like that stuff is like real tough for a high handicapper, you know?
Yeah. Okay, 5 for 8 here. Getting a little close. Question 9, the vibes test. Is this course worth staying at post round? Do they have a good restaurant or patio scene? I think they're saved by the patio.
I
Okay,
don't
I'll go
feel
first.
like we can give that the pass. Like, it's cool if you're comfortable with the company you're keeping, right? And you're just kind of having a couple of drinks and you're fine with that. If you want scenery or like vibes and music and like a Greyhawk scene, like don't expect that. But if you're just with the boys and you want to have drinks at the fire, sure, you know. But I don't think it's like a spot you're excited to stay at after.
Can I say that every time I've been here and we're gonna get a drink after, if the fire pit's open, we get a drink and we stay. If it's not open, we go home. It's like that one spot is so cool, it's so dope. But the rest of the patio, because there's no one staffing that bar out there, and those tables in the afternoon are in the shade. So like you want to get out of the sun, fine. That's a good place to go in the summer. But in the winter, it's actually kind of cold in those little tables right there, and all you want to be is by that fire pit. So if you're coming during prime season, it's like beyond that pit. I'm like, I'm not so sure about it. But again, like the patio is okay, it's good, but the restaurant not. So that's why I feel like I'm failing this, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I'm also a fail. I looked at this as like I was doing a scale and weighing things out, and I said the patio is great, the fire pit's great, but I don't think that it outweighs the restaurant, and I don't think that it outweighs getting back sooner.
Chili's.
You know, or Chili's for some people. So it's not it doesn't suffer from some of the things that some of the other courses where the options directly around it are better.
Yeah.
But I do think that it suffers from the fact that this is the one time where we can say the location does kind of matter, because you don't necessarily want to stay all the way out there just to have a beer or two.
Yeah.
Right? You can go do that back home and sit on your patio with your buddy.
Should we rename this test the Chili's test?
No.
Where are my connoisseurs at out here? Where's my triple dipper crew? All right. So 5 for 9. So it's got to pass this next one to be up for debate. Question 10, the dime a dozen test. Is this course unique to the area, or could you get this golf experience somewhere else on your trip or visit? This is an easy pass for me.
Easy pass.
Yeah. Okay. No explanation needed.
No,
so, 6 out of 10 means it's up for debate. So, Jamie, what we do here is you get about a minute to state your case one way or the other. Or if you're on the fence, pose a couple questions to the group, whether or not you think it should be a must play. And when we talk about must play, ultimately these questions are geared towards, if you live here, would you take the boys here or the girls here? Or if you're visiting, does this make the must play list?
Okay. Yes. Must play list, because you can take the boys, bring the girls. I like it because, one, it's unique, like we just said. It's not a dime a dozen, right? You get out there, and it's also a course that's very rewarding. So if you go, TJ, more than once and you play a great round, you're going to be like, oh, Dunes is like one of my favorite courses, because it's a real challenge, right? And that's why we're out there. If you go and put me out on a course that's flat and open, I'm going to basically shoot within the same 2 scores every single day and hitting the same exact clubs every day. That, to me, isn't why I'm traveling to play golf, or as a fanatic, like moving to Arizona for golf, or like living here. That's not what you want, because you can go play something like that. Like, you can get something typical, but you can't get that at Dunes. And for me, all of the holes are different every single day. You can play every club in your bag. Sure, it can be very frustrating in the bunkers, but that makes you care about your shots and play better to not be in those bunkers. And when you're on those bunkers, 18, I'll end it with this. This was the perfect example. I should have hit on this. When last time I played with that kid that was the Oregon Duck, and he was like phenomenal, I hit the green on 18 and I stuck it to like 3 feet and I made birdie on 18. I left on the highest possible vibe I could possibly hit. If you just gave me a dead downhill, dead straight, no danger anywhere, and I hit it and I make birdie, cool, whatever. But I'm not leaving that with the same feeling as water on the right, kind of like a half peninsula green, and you stick it and make birdie with a bunker threatening the back.
Yeah.
Like that makes you leave and going, oh, awesome. Like, or I hit a really good shot, and the good shot looks really good because it's on such a difficult hole, and it's fun to play that, in my opinion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel
That's
you.
for them. Yeah.
TJ, you want me to go next, or do you want to go next?
You can go ahead.
Okay. I am going to leave you in suspense here. I'm going to just list off a couple things. So, when I have people visiting, and like TJ is one of them when he came into town, and the other guys, Chris and Alex, I'll say, okay, well, I live in the south part of the valley as well, so that we could go up north and they're visiting. I have no problem driving an hour up there to go to North Scottsdale. Should we hit one of those courses? Yeah, maybe we should. But if we go south, a little less of a drive for me, you could hit this really cool course that's got all these like fun challenges, like you just mentioned, immaculate condition, great practice facilities. It's truly unique, like he's mentioned in the area. So I'm like, it's pretty cool, and you're gonna walk off being like, this is kind of tight. I didn't know this existed down here. On the flip side, when I go down there every once in a while, and we have to drive back, I'm like, if I played bad, I'm like, oh man, I should have just gone to Whirlwind. Why did I just go to Whirlwind? I know what I'm getting at Whirlwind. They got 2 courses at Whirlwind, and it's like 10 minutes from my house. Restaurant's great. I probably would have stayed there and had dinner or a beer at least on the thing. Practice facilities still really good. If I'm putting a head-to-head battle with Whirlwind and Southern Dunes, like they're going at it because Whirlwind's got some check marks in its column that Southern Dunes doesn't, and vice versa. So every once in a while, when the traffic's bad or it's a bad drive, I'm like, I should have just gone to Whirlwind. All that said, if you're coming out here and maybe you're only going to play once a year out in Phoenix or something like that, how often you come out, I do think it's a must play. I do think you go out there just because you hear about it. It's in the Golfweek Magazine's list. It changes its ranking in Arizona golf every once in a while. And you see it in pictures and it looks great. You get out there and you're pleasantly surprised by the course and the experience. And I just think it definitely weighs on the must play side for me. So I'm giving it a must play, even though my heart's torn sometimes.
And you said you were going to leave us in suspense, and then left no doubt at all of what your ranking was.
I meant like as throughout my story, you might not know which way I'm leaning.
Okay. I guess technically I'm outvoted, but I was going to say yes anyway here. I think I looked at this a little bit more, I guess, quantitative, and looking at the tests that it passed and the tests that it failed. The ones that it passes really well. Like the 6 tests that it passes exceedingly well. And a lot of the tests that it failed, but just kind of missed. Like we talked about the vibes and where it was like, if they could just shore this thing up, it would be great. Like it would be an automatic pass for us. I know they're not going to change their logo, so that's one that's not going to change. We're talking about the restaurant. Help us out here. Put a chicken.
But here's the thing. What could they really do, being in that location, restaurant-wise, that would change that? Because I'm not sure.
I need it. From what I can recall, the food options did not feel like they were very grab and go. I think I still ordered something, and it still had to be prepared, and then was put in a to-go container for me to take out to 10. So that's a myth. Like that's an easily solvable thing, is to retool your menu a little bit and make things that are prepped in the morning and just ready to go and be handed out to golfers.
Also, breakfast food, like breakfast sandwiches. Any course that has like good breakfast food, I'm like A1 already. Yeah.
I'll tell you right now what they should do for the restaurant, just to make this podcast a little longer. So first of all, the bar sucks. The bar is like
it's dark
to like some heated food right here, and then you've got your back to the entire restaurant, and there's like one TV in the corner, I believe, and then the kitchen, which is open, is like right there, and there's one person working, and the register where people order their to-go food is right on the bar right there. So the bar sucks. Like put a bar like outside, or if it's inside, make a separate area where it's clearly a bar. We keep comparing it to Greyhawk, but if you go into Phil's Grill at Greyhawk, there's like comfy leather seats. You feel like you're in like a pub almost, and the bar is off to the right, rounded, and has its own little thing, and the restaurant's over here on the left. This very much feels like if you've ever gotten food at a cafe in a library, where you're not meant to stay there long. The seating's kind of hard, and you're like, yeah, technically, like there's food here, but like you wouldn't take someone to this restaurant at the library. You're just here because there's a library. I feel like that's what it's like. It's like it's not its own thing. It just happens to be there associated with the course. So the bar, staff the outside, put someone at that bar outside, especially in the prime winter and spring months. Have it look at something too. They have 2 walls that are just here, and then they've got one wall facing in at another house, and then the only wall that faces out to the course, they pull those shades down because it sunsets on that side. So you're in this like dark cave when it's like, hey, if you go sit by that fireplace, you can go look out at the sunset over all the holes, and it's gorgeous. So like, give us something to look at too.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a couple things I would be very nitpicky on the restaurant. And apologies, Garrett, if you're listening, but we can talk about this later. Got ideas.
Good ideas.
But with that being said,
still a must play.
Still a must play.
Must play.
Congratulations. I know I just ripped you one on the restaurant there, Southern Dunes, but you are must play officially. Jamie, I had so much fun. I know we could talk for a lot longer. You know your courses out here. What do you think we should cover next on the podcast?
I mean, I think Whirlwind. Have you guys done Whirlwind yet?
No, we haven't.
You spoke on it a little bit. I think it's a good follow up. It would be a good contender. Know who's sleepy good? Longbow.
Oh yeah,
I like Longbow, and I've only played it like twice. One time I played it in like sleet, and I just happened to get stuck in it. But I really like that course. I got to get back out there and check it out again.
Longbow's a good course for a lefty. A lot of right to left holes out there.
Yeah, that's what I remember from it. Yeah.
All right. Well, TJ, feel free to wrap this up.
Yeah, as always, we strongly encourage you to get out there and try Southern Dunes. Establish your own must-play rating. Don't just take ours at face value. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you happen to be listening and watching on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, toss us a rating, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. We'll see you next time. Wow. First time doing a full sign-off. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Later,
a lot of fun.